Make the mudra. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Iram Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the song of the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous ever with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom. May I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the song of the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous ever with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom. May I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous ever with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, the reason for the time change, and I hope it's not too inconvenient for everybody, is because of the time slots available for physical therapy. We're working on my posture and my balance, and that's requiring 3 or 4 visits a week. So I wanted to make them all at 3 o'clock, and that way I don't have to worry about which day is what time. So now the other thing I just noticed on a newsletter from Diamond Mountain from ACI that they're going to be offering their version of the Lam Rim. So 14 years of Lam Rim from Geshe Michael. So if what they offer is at a better time, or if you prefer to hear it from another teacher, I certainly don't take offense at that. If enough students want to keep me doing it, I'll be happy to do so. So it might be worth, I don't know, Natalia, if you can do this, find out from everybody what they prefer. I'm more than happy to continue teaching it, but I would also understand if they want to take a more formal course from ACI. So let's find out and see what they think. Okay, what else? Oh, rejoicing. Okay, who else? How many people are, I just see 6 people, 5 people. Is that all that's attending today?
Yes, Katya said that she will join later. She not at the start, and this is it for today.
All the Russian students are not going to attend anymore?
I'm not sure. I will need to ask. Maybe Svetlana knows.
So I guess my question is it just the 5 of us or 6 of us with Katya that are taking the course now? Is that right?
I think there are Russians who are watching in recordings because it's late for them at this time, but they're watching the recordings.
Oh, okay.
Correct? Am I correct, Svetlana?
English channel, is it possible to speak English?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, oh, thank you, Venerable Sumati. Yeah, I don't know exactly how many Russian-speaking students are watching the recordings. Like they are observing announcements in the chat, like they are following news about Lam Rim, but I can't tell how many of them are studying with the recordings.
Well, let's ask the question now. Would you prefer to learn this from another ACI teacher, or would you like me to continue? I'm perfectly happy to continue. I'm also not going to take offense if students want to learn it from a different teacher. So,
I would love to continue with you.
yeah.
Me also. I also want to continue with you.
Okay, well, I guess we've answered that question. Okay,
Please
so
stay, continue to
so
teach.
1 o'clock to 2:30, and there'll be some days when we can't do that. For instance, Friday, the 12th of July, that's the start of the White Tara, the 21 praises. So we probably won't have, well, I'll just announce as it occurs when you're not going to have class. I try to schedule everything around the classes, but sometimes I can't. So, okay. Well, let's start with rejoicing. Evgeny, what do you have to rejoice about?
Всем добрый день. Кому-то
Good
ночь.
afternoon, everybody, and good night for someone. I would like to rejoice that about my karmic partner that we are working about finances, and today she told me that she got some first results after almost a year, and I am very happy about it. And another my karmic partner is very close to connect with his family, and I'm working about it, and I'm I'm amazingly happy that I can observe these results that I can see in their cases.
Very good. That's the whole point of karmic partners. So excellent. I'm very happy for you, Evgeny. That's wonderful. Sheila.
I rejoice that we are together again and we are going to start another course, the Lam Rim Tree, and this is amazing for me that you are going to teach us. Stay with us, please.
Well, thank you. I fully intend to. Okay.
Thank you.
Svetlana, what do you have to rejoice in?
Yeah, I also would like to rejoice that we are launching Lam Rim 3. It's like the first day of Lam Rim teachings because we have studied meditation practice and emptiness, and now we are going on the Lam Rim, and also please teach us. I'm asking for that. And from my like casual life, I'm rejoicing about that my colleague, she turned very beautiful. She was invited for some event, and we bought her a beautiful evening dress. She bought a nice outfit, shoes, and today I helped her to get ready, and she was so stunningly beautiful. She didn't go out a long time, and she's enjoying all this preparation process and looking beautiful. So I'm rejoicing that I had a chance to help you to help her get ready. That it in some other case, someone would help me to get ready for some important event.
Very good. That's always fun to do and see the result. Okay, Jackie, what do you have to rejoice in?
Thank you, dearest Lama Sumati, for being with us and all the preparations that you lovingly place every time to be able to give us these beautiful teachings. Please continue to teach us. I rejoice that it's so beautiful to watch family to gather together and to look at photos and to honor family from many generations. And it's a very beautiful gift and humbling way to honor someone's life and help them as they get older, and to realize and to celebrate all those people that have been in their life. And I guess a gentle way to sort of bring in the 5 wishes in time. Yeah.
Good. So the 5 wishes material was helpful?
Very much so. Very much appreciate it. And I feel a lot more prepared and more comfortable with knowing beautiful, gentle ways to nurture others in that little journey as they.
Good. I'm glad to
more
see that.
Thank
What
you.
we're talking about is a program my wife teaches here at our retirement community called the 5 Wishes. And what it does is it begins to get people to organize what they want to have happen as they get to the point of dying, and then hopefully get them to get a will together and do all the things that will make the transition of their dying easiest on the loved ones. Because one of the fears, I think that apparently one of the fears you have when you're getting close to dying is what's going to happen to all your stuff and to the people you love. And if you have that all organized, as happened for me with my truck rolling, you're thinking of the right things to be thinking about instead of all the silly stuff like who's going to get my computer or who's going to take care of this or that. You've organized it and it's on a piece of paper, and so your loved ones will be able to do what you want. Well, your loved ones will know what you wanted. Whether they do it or not doesn't matter because you're not around anymore. So, okay, Natalia, what do you have to rejoice about?
I'm really happy about you teaching White Tara, and I'm planning to be there. Hopefully, it will suit my time. And the other thing I'm very happy about that I have 2 karmic partners now that we are working on teaching Dharma to parents, teachers, and children. And I'm very excited about it.
Good. Teaching, that's wonderful. That's the whole point of these courses, is to get new teachers, get them enthused, and there's certainly a wealth of material. So, excellent. What do I have to rejoice in? Well, I finally got my cardiologist to respond to a request of mine concerning my latest heart evaluation. And he said things are back to normal. And he wouldn't talk to me why they're back to normal or what that means. It's very strange. I'm thinking of changing. I see him again in September. I'm thinking of changing cardiologists because this guy doesn't seem to be very sensitive to his patients' needs. But the good news is my heart's back where it should be under normal circumstances, which is very encouraging. And even though it's a bit discomforting for me not to take the medication that was causing the problem, it's easier to not take it knowing that I'm making my heart stronger. So that's good news. I seem to be having lots of karma ripening for this last project of mine, article project. I had the interesting occurrence yet again of looking in some material I'd saved that I'd gone through once and didn't see. When I went through it a second time, I saw all kinds of material that I apparently had either overlooked or, as I prefer to say it, my karma had ripened to see, I had the seeds ripened to see that which had been hidden before. So I think that's easy to, I like to think that my karma for helping others with their work is ripening now instead of several lifetimes from now. And there are those who would say, "Oh, that's not possible," but I don't pretend to know when karma is going to ripen. So I'm just rejoicing that it's ripening when it is. What else? Oh, we bought some outdoor lights, and to see my wife be giggly happy about something is really very pleasant, very fun. And she's giggly happy about organizing these lights. She hasn't done it yet. She says there's just a special time, and she'll know when it is, that she'll get all giggly again and organize the lights. So she's going on a 10-day retreat with one of our students in Colorado. I'm staying home to take care of the house and all her plants. So I'm rejoicing in the fact that with my health issues, I can take care of myself for the 10 days without her being worried at all. So I think that's very positive. What else? Oh, this is a big step for me. I was seriously looking into getting a different monitor for my computer, one of those curved screen monitors. I looked into it and it was going to be really sweet. It's going to look great. And then one of my South African students looked at me and said, "Yeah, but do you really need it?" And the answer to that was, no, I don't really need it. So that helped me form the decision that I'm not going to get one. So I spent far too much time reorganizing my desk. And I think I finally have it the way I've been wanting it for several years. So that's kind of a mundane rejoiceable, but that's a rejoiceable. Okay, let's start class. So there's a lot of repeat in this, and so I'm trying to paraphrase some of what he taught. During the length of this course, and I think from now on, remember how I asked in the last course to catch yourself seeing things as self-existent, really trying to catch yourself seeing things as self-existent at least once a day. And my example was with my wife walking in front of me and getting upset with that. What I've been doing, catching myself, is I'm still getting frustrated and mad at myself because of the frustration of Parkinson's. So only once did I catch myself and stop. The rest of it, I just let it continue, which I'm not proud of. So because of what we're talking about today, I'm going to try very, very hard when I get frustrated to stop right away and not make that seed for another life. But it's hard for me. I must admit that frustration of not being able to do stuff is really very strong. But I built a small piece of furniture for my desk and very much enjoyed doing that. So I think one of the secrets for me is to start getting back the things that I have given up as not being able to do. So anyway, to the practice at hand. So Geshe Michael talks about in this course a special practice. You check in with yourself to see what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. That's all. It doesn't sound like very much, but I think if you stop and check what you're doing, why you're doing it, you'll find out very quickly that you need to be thinking in the bigger picture of things. You're doing it for the benefit of all beings, not just yourself. So do this for this week and then for these classes, and we'll see how it goes from there. So during the course of the week, we'll be doing this more and more. So do it before you eat, before you get in your car, before you send an email. Pause for a few moments and think, why am I doing this right now? What do I hope to get by eating this food or sending this email? What do I hope to happen? This is what we're teaching in this course. You won't necessarily have answers to those questions. I think the exercise is not so much the answer, is to catch yourself realizing how much of what you do is rote. You do out of habit. So you don't want to stop a habit necessarily. You can have very good habits. What you want to do is remember why you are doing something. And usually if you're thinking about that, that's the why is because you want to help all sentient beings in the future. So this is a way of dedicating your bodhicitta every time you do something. So Geshe Michael at this point wanted to spend more time on the title of the book we're working with. So I'm going to work on that for just a bit. I'm going to pronounce as best I can some of the Tibetan because I think it's a good thing to pass along. So we know this book as Namdril Lakcham. Namdril means liberation, Lak means hand, Cham means thrust into it. So Geshe Michael likens this to what happens when a child holds out their hand, the parents shove a piece of candy into it. In this case, Geshe Michael and his teachers are shoving enlightenment into our hands. You can't get out of it. It's being shoved into your hands. That's the way the book is called by most Tibetans. Tutsi Ningpo is another term. Ningpo means heart or essence. Tutsi means Amrita, deathless nectar. Nectar means the path beyond death. Nectar is a Greek word for passing beyond death. It's a magical substance that if you drink, you don't have to die. The real name of the book is a dose of Amrita, and that's a literal translation. If you study this book well, you don't have to die. If you practice this book well, you don't have to die. Now, it's important to stop and think what he means when he's saying you don't have to die. Is that meaning if I study this well, Sumati is eternal? I don't think that's what it means. I think it's trying to tell us that when we, quote, die, unquote, we are learning that we don't die, quote, unquote. We're suddenly move along to a different phase of our being. So in that sense, we're learning that we don't have, by studying this book, we don't have to think of ourselves as dying. I don't see it as being that I'm going to live forever in this body. I see it as my realizing I'm going to live forever as part of a mind stream. And that to me is very encouraging because everything I've done so far up to this life is part of that mind stream and will contribute to my future happiness, I hope, and future enlightenment. So in this case, the Amrita is not something we drink. It's just a bunch of pages. It's this whole text, entire text. If you do the practices presented in this text, that's nectar and you don't have to die. And you get there, you get to where we're going, which is hopefully total enlightenment, then you teach others to get there. That's why we're here, and that's the name of the book. It's a menlock. Menlock are the instructions your Lama gives you, lips to your ear, whispering to you in your ear the teachings. That's metaphorical. In this book, there's not anything missing. Geshe Michael likes to compare the Lam Rim teaching to an automobile engine. Back when he had taught this particular course, he had a 1910 Volvo. It wasn't that old. He went to Flagstaff and it died again. A couple of days later, I took it to a mechanic and he relieved me of $500 and instead he fixed the fan. The next day he was driving and it died on the highway. He got out and looked under the hood and found all the bolts to the fan body of the fan were missing. All the parts were essential for that. It's not like a gallbladder, which you can have the gallbladder removed and you won't die. So it's not absolutely essential to your well-being. Everything we need to reach enlightenment is in this book. There are a certain number of realizations you must reach in your heart or you won't reach enlightenment. There have to be a certain number of breakthroughs and they must be made in a certain order. The teaching must be complete and it must be free of mistakes. The instructions are here. And unlike the mechanic who left the fan bolts off, everything is here. Geshe Michael feels Geshe, who wrote this text, is the most important author in Buddhist history, even more important than Lord Buddha. That's a big statement, but he understood everything perfectly about the spiritual path, and he imparted it perfectly in this world. If you can connect with it, you can be drinking nectar soon. You've heard Geshe, now we're spoiled. He's the only one who clearly expressed how to apply emptiness to your life and then overcome death itself. Geshe taught nearly 10,000 pages of scripture. 10,000 pages of scripture. I have my books, published books. Let's see. I have about 1,000 pages of published books, which doesn't make me any kind of comparison to him, but that's a lot of pages of scripture. But the essence of everything Geshe taught is in this book. It's the steps on the path to enlightenment. Now we say that about another book that Geshe Michael and Ken Rinpoche translated, another teaching, the source of all my good, and the three principal paths. Either one of those are condensed Lam Rims, and they hold the secret to everything you need for enlightenment. But you have to know a lot more about what's going on to make those work. It's an incredible karma to have this teaching. We have 1,500 teachings of Lord Buddha, Tantra and Sutra. The essence of all of Buddha's teachings are all in this book. What does the title tell you about the book? The Essence of Nectar of Profound Advices. That's the title of the book. It's auspicious to translate the first few lines into Sanskrit. So I'll read, I'm not going to read it because I can't pronounce Sanskrit word beans. Tantrika is a weird name. They were in Malaysia or in Indonesia. There was a big magazine rack and it said, learn the secrets of yoga, tantra, sex. It's not like that. You're sitting at a paradise cafe and suddenly it occurs to you that one of the waiters or waitresses is an emanation of Geshe. If you're thinking properly, well, if you're thinking from a tantric perspective, you see that he came to you 600 years after he supposedly died, and he looks like a waitress, and she's there to help you with your homework. It's secret because if you don't have a good heart, you won't detect him. He'll just look like a girl from Virginia. It's hidden because we don't have the goodness to see it. One of the tantric practices that I can talk about is this concept of seeing everybody as a teacher, as an angel. Everybody. So that person that cut you off on the road, on the highway, instead of going swearing at him, you say, oh, thank you. You're a tantric angel here to help me not get mad. So he then bows down to a certain being. He's written a poem of 4 lines about this being to whom he bows down to. He's hidden the name of his teacher in the poem. You have used this the teaching of bodhicitta and bodhisattva way. You've used this highest teaching to destroy the extreme of peace. You study Buddhism, you get good at meditating, you destroy your negative emotions. That's nirvana. You blow out all your negative emotions forever. But you can't stop there. You have to keep working for others. Is it wrong to have a Starbucks coffee? Is that attachment to the pleasures of samsara? You can't say. It depends on the person's mind. Starbucks is neither suffering or good from its own side. If you understand where it comes from and use it to help others, then it's a good thing. So let's review the 3 trainings. The 3 trainings are, does anybody remember what the 3 trainings are? 3 extraordinary trainings? No? I'll give you a hint.
May the first one be morality.
That's correct. How about the second one? Meditation, and the third is wisdom. Vinaya, how to live an ethical life, how to meditate and concentrate, and how to understand emptiness. So that's sometimes referred to as the extraordinary trainings of Vinaya, how to live ethically, the extraordinary trainings of the Abhidharma, how to meditate and concentrate, and Sutra, how to understand emptiness. All Buddhist scriptures are grouped into one of these 3. Here's a quote from Nagarjuna. To get happy, to be happy that you got something and be unhappy that you didn't. What's that reminding you of? What do we call those?
Would that be relating to the 8 worldly thoughts?
Yes, the 8 worldly thoughts. Thank you, Jackie. So you get happy when you get something and be unhappy when you don't. Be happy when you feel good and unhappy when you don't. Somebody calls you smart, you feel wonderful. If somebody calls you dumb, you feel awful. Or you get famous and don't get famous. Happy when you get things, happy when not. Ken Rinpoche was, Geshe Michael's heart teacher, was a great fan of the New York Mets. Somebody would get a home run, he would run slow around the bases smirking. That's the 8 worldly dharmas. Next inning, he would strike out and be unhappy. Is it wrong to be happy when you're healthy? Should you want the flu? Is it okay to be unhappy when you got the flu? You want to go to a place where they don't have the flu. So isn't it okay to not like the flu? It's tied up with wisdom. If you get angry at others because of the flu, that's wrong. But if you get angry about the flu and treat others better to eliminate it, then you get the idea. To not want the flu is fine. To be mean to others because you have the flu is wrong, because we get the flu again. So it's your motivation and how you approach things. If I say I'm mad at myself for having the Parkinson's and having inconvenienced so many other people, that frustration I'm mad at is better than if I just get frustrated and upset. So what I'm doing is burning off the bad seed, ripening the bad seed, not replanting it by saying, this is my opinion. So I get frustrated that the mouse isn't pointing properly. Okay, I can get mad and say, I'm so frustrated because this is ripening from a previous life and I'm ripening it now. I'm not going to blame anybody except my karma. That frustration is not an issue. It's when I get frustrated and go, God damn it, I'm tired of not being able to do this. It's not fair. That's frustration with ignorance. And that's setting the seeds I don't want to set. So this all comes back to what we were talking about we were going to do at the beginning of class. Just look at what you're doing and see why you're doing it and see what the expected result is. So that comes down to something as mundane as being unhappy about it, being frustrated about not being able to open a Ziploc bag or not being able to get my mouse to point properly. I need to take a break and stand up for a minute. So just Let me do that. I'll be back in just a second. What are you looking for, dear?
Other set of longer poems.
All the comes and we'll write it down here. I'm taking a break. Everything I've got is here. Those black ones from the bag. Did you see those? No. That's weird. They just use first. That's very strange. That's been happening to me. Sometimes when I get uncomfortable with because of the medication change, I get up and walk around and somehow that takes my mind off of it. So sorry about that. Is it wrong to be happy when you're healthy? Should you want, we discussed that. It's not wrong to be upset that something went wrong. Somebody said something mean about you in the newspaper or whatever, but you have to understand it and work harder not to criticize others. So that's what we mean by thinking about what you're doing. It's not only thinking about things being self-existent, although that's part of it. It's really about thinking about your karma's right, remembering that your karma is ripening and what you're going to do about it in that instance. That's just, it seems so simple, but when you stop and think about your day-to-day life and what you do every day, you're chopping vegetables. You think, well, I'm making dinner for my lovely wife. Well, yes, you are, but you're doing that in order to help your lovely wife have a good meal and have the energy to continue doing all the things she wants to do. That's very different than just saying, I'm making dinner. I think that's what Geshe Michael's talking about, and that's what the author, Bulgarian Rinpoche, is talking about, being much more present. So when you sit down this week and say, why am I here? Why do I study the Lam Rim and meditate? Deep down, it should be that you want to be happy. And Prabhupada Rinpoche is saying your happiness will be like an ocean fed by rivers and the ocean of your teacher. Your own teacher's teachings will be like rivers and rain that feed into your happiness, which will then eventually become like an ocean. So your happiness, that you feel deeply happy and content if you do these practices, your happiness is like the ocean and the teacher feeding that ocean. Beg your teachers to send down the rain of the Dharma and fill up the ocean of your happiness. There's something we do in part of our tantric practice about the rain of the Dharma. I don't remember it now, but I love that analogy. We're teaching the rain of the Dharma. The Dharma is all around us like rain. It's covering us like rain. It's nourishing us like the rain nourishes plants. The point is to want to be really, really happy and make others happy. Okay, let's see. In order for Trijang Rinpoche, who is the one who took the teaching, he was the one who was attending the teaching by Pabonka Rinpoche. It took him 20 years to write the book, Liberation Thrust in the Palm of Your Hand. 20 years. And that was with a lot of effort. Now, of course, he was the tutor for His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, so that took a lot of his life. But he made a commitment at the beginning of after the teaching, he made a commitment to write this book. So where does he go from there? You can change a person's life and help a person overcome death if you make a commitment to pass it on. So let's make a commitment now. Please take the time to take these teachings and promise yourself that you will eventually teach this to somebody else. You don't have to teach this to 100 students or be on Zoom. You just have to me, teaching it means not so much teaching in a formal way, but have it be so that when people, if you were to hear the people think of you, boy, I wish I could be like him or her, they really have their act together. That to me means you're teaching this material, because by your presence, by your actions, people are learning, are wanting to be like you. And one, that's an incredibly high compliment on the mundane level. And two, you're showing them how to reach their own enlightenment, and they don't even know it. Trijang Rinpoche became in his time the greatest scholar and wise man of Tibet. He trained an entire generation, including Geshe Michael's Heart Lama and Lama Yeshe, another very famous teacher. The whole generation of High Lamas was trained by Trijang Rinpoche. And he sacrificed the greater part of his life to translate this work for his teacher. They chose Trijang Rinpoche to be the teacher of the 14th Holy Lama because he gave up his own wishes for his teacher. The karma of doing that is out of 1 million monks, he was chosen as tutor for the Dalai Lama. People were asking Geshe Michael, we had Diamond Mountain University. He taught the highest teachings for 7 years, thousands of translations. When he went there, it was empty land. There were 7 people there. It was pretty bleak. By the end, we had 134 graduates who really heard the higher teachings of Buddhism. Then they said, what do we do next? We did 10 years of Sutra in New York and then Diamond Mountain. So after the university, they asked Geshe Michael what he was going to do next. And they said, we're going to teach in Phoenix. And everybody said, it's too hot. There's too much traffic. I don't like Phoenix. Why are you going to Phoenix? Why can't we go to Paris? No, we have to go to the places that need you, the places that don't have anybody, the places that are hard. Go to the places that have the best restaurants for seishu. That's the tantric practice. That would be Paris. We go to the hard places and make them beautiful. That's what Trishong Rinpoche did. He transcribed for 20 years. You take the hard jobs and make things of great beauty. Who came to this original teaching? That's another thing that we don't talk as much about as we should. About 700 people from the 3 great monasteries in Tibet were like thirsty people seeking water to partake of the deathless nectar of Pagonka Rinpoche's speech. They came at great expense and great hardship. To walk from various places in Tibet to Lhasa takes great effort. They couldn't get on a plane. They couldn't get on a train. Among the 700 were 30 high reincarnated lamas and monks. So how did Pagonka Rinpoche give the teaching? What was his style? In Tibet, the common people didn't hear Dharma. The teachings were only given in the monastery. Women were often excluded. Common people didn't learn to read. They weren't encouraged to go to teachings. This is where Pagonka Rinpoche said, this is wrong. He went out and gave huge teachings to common people. He was criticized for this. He gave big lectures to anybody and everybody, and he changed them deeply and severely criticized for them. He made jokes and made the teachings fun, and he was threatened for that as well. Why is this such a big deal? It's a style of teachings to emulate. He based his teachings on the great classics, most importantly a book called The Word of Gentle Voice, a Lam Rim written by the great 5th Dalai Lama. The great 5th, unified Tibet into a country. He's been considered the greatest of the Dalai Lamas, but I think number 14 is better. The great 5th wrote a book called a special kind of Lam Rim called the Marti, a crimson teaching, which we'll discuss in a little bit. He gave a teaching. There are 2 great lineages of the 5th Dalai Lama's Lam Rim. One is central and one is southern. The central one is more detailed. He also used the text by the first Panchen Lama. So he gave a teaching based on, Pagonka Rinpoche gave his teaching based on his personal experiences. When he gave the teaching, he used authentic sources. The second thing is that he used real life examples. He would say, Geshe so-and-so from Saramay is really good at this death meditation. He would use examples of real life, talking about what we're about to learn. He also used debate. He proved things logically. Doesn't sound so sexy, but we travel the world and people really respond to something that makes sense. Your world is made up by seeds in your mind. Here's how you can adjust the world by changing the seeds. It makes sense to them and they respond. It's very interesting. Even in a country where they don't have a history of these teachings, they make sense. Real sources, content, not something you made up. It's very important when you teach to be able to say, and I can't stress this enough, if you don't understand something, say you don't understand it. If you don't know where to find it, say you don't know where to find it. Don't make something up to not be embarrassed. Use cool stories. I probably do a little too much of that, but I like telling stories. And I think it makes a point, personal point for me to remember as I'm learning. He spoke to his audience's level. Even beginners could grasp what Pavanka Rinpoche was saying, but even advanced students wouldn't get bored, so it's very difficult. Geshe Michael and Lama Christie went to Singapore once. Half the students had been there before and half were new. 300 people in the room were new and 300 people were not. You had to be able to teach to both levels. He related it to his own lives. It wasn't some dry philosophy from the 18th century. When people in the audience started nodding off and getting bored, he would tell a joke, and then the whole crowd roaring, send the whole crowd laughing, roaring with laughter. I've never had anybody roar with laughter on my teachings. At times he would, Trijong Rinpoche, at times what he would say would bring the crowd to uncontrollable sobbing. At other times he scared the crap out of us. He started talking about what would happen to us if we died, if we didn't practice as well. And we got really frightened. He was good at explaining the problems in the death process. Then the Pavanka Rinpoche came to Trijong Rinpoche and said, you know, people who were at the teachings have been coming to ask me questions, and I don't have time to answer the questions of 700 people who were not listening. And a lot of people took notes, but he didn't trust them. He said Pavanka Rinpoche came to Trijong Rinpoche and said he wasn't comfortable with others taking notes, and he ordered me to do this book. He ordered me and he gave me permission. He said that you have permission to write the book. In one way, he ordered me. In another way, he gave me a great kindness by allowing me to do this book. I have many other Dharma friends that could have done a much better job, but he gave me the job, so I did the best I could. So Trijong Rinpoche ends by saying he hopes this will help people. I didn't add anything and I won't leave anything out. I will give you what he said at the end of tonight's teaching. That's the end of tonight's teaching. Pavanka Rinpoche is making a commitment to give her every tool we need to reach total enlightenment. Now it's up to us to agree that we're going to try and practice these tools and reach our total enlightenment as soon as possible. Okay, so that's the end of class now. We went over why he wrote the book and what he expects us to do. This isn't a Band-Aid. This is a friend of mine calls these my forearm warmers. They're like leg warmers for ballerinas. They're not keeping my arm warm. My desk has a surface, and when I sweat, my arm gets sticky and sticks to the surface, and that really bugs me. So by wearing these things, they don't stick to the surface. I've enlarged my desk substantially so I can have 3-ring binders out and leave them open and work from them. So, okay. So this is a kind of a review and a warm-up for the next teaching. But I think it's important. I agree with Geshe Michael. It's important to remember the elegance and the sacrifice of writing this book. Let's dedicate, as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, till then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. And the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma taught by the Buddhas, always increase. I will commit to teach this as best I can for as long as I can. And all I ask is a commitment from you to try and make it to class on time, and most importantly, practice what we're teaching you. So be careful, and I don't want to put this. Remember to ask yourself why you're doing something. Remember to dedicate what you're doing. And remember, when you ask yourself why, if your answer is not completely in line with what we're teaching, change your answer, change your motivation. Okay. We'll see everybody on Friday. Look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
dear Sumati. Have a very joyful therapy session to help with your movements.
Yeah, that's how I'm approaching it. I'm
Yeah.
taking it as fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.